all, and welcome to a build guide slash the build I'm playing this league. The reason I'm making this is I feel like this is something that, while a lot of people are playing the skill, not many people are playing it as an occultist, and that is Impending Doom. So, you've probably seen on Reddit and the forums when 3.22 launched, there was a big thing about these gloves, Vixen's Entrapment, and basically they didn't work, and then they did work, and then they reverted it, and there was this big whole fucking ordeal. But essentially the build's kind of made around these, and if you played Bane back in the day, it kind of plays the same way. Basically, when you cast a curse, this automatically casts all of the curse is in the item. So, let's go over the passive tree real quick. It's just your bog standard Chaos Poison build. So, we're pathing up to Deep Wisdom and Vampirism. We're going up, grabbing Curse Effect and Skill Effect Duration. We go up and we take Eldritch Battery, which gives us our energy shield over mana, and we spend energy of shield first. And that's why it's called the Infinite Cursor. And then after that, we're taking Whispers of Doom. We're taking Influence and Serpentine Spellslinger. If you're leveling this build, do not take Whispers of Doom until you have Vixens on, and I'll talk about that in a minute. This can actually brick your build. Next, we're coming down to Instinct, Growth and Decay. We're jumping down into Ranger to grab all of the damage over time poison nodes, life nodes, and evasion nodes, because we are an evasion and spell suppress build. As far as Ascendancy goes, really you got two that you care about, and that is your Vile Bastion for ES regen, so you can basically cast infinitely, and Profane Bloom. And that's really the powerhouse of the build. After that, you can take whatever. You can take Unholy Authority if you want to run even more curses, Forbidden Power if you want to do power charge shenanigans, Frigid Wake really doesn't do anything for us. I decided to take Void Beacon for the Chaos Res, and Withering Presence for the Withered with nearby enemies. There's a couple staple items in the build, and it kind of depends on if you're going the poison route or the crit route. If you're going the poison route, you want an Apex Rage. This is going to give you a lot of damage and a lot of chaos dot multi. If you're going the crit route, I would run a Breath of the Council, because that's going to give you more area of effect and increase skill duration. Next thing is your Vixen's Entrapment. You have to have these for the build to work. Essentially, it gives you an additional curse and trigger a socketed curse spell when you cast a curse. Next, Leper's Arms is really nice because it gives you Shared Suffering, which is all damage from hits cause elemental ailments you're suffering. So you get Scorched, Frozen, Chilled, Brittle, all of that shit when you, on all of your skills. Ice Fang Orbit. I've been running this because I got this as a drop. It says non-chilled enemies you poison are chilled. Poison enemies you kill with hit shatter. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't know if this does anything, because in between my Impending Doom explosions and my Profane Bloom explosions, you can't tell if it shatters. I have no idea if this actually works. I'm running a Dendra Bait, mainly for the Socketed Gems are supported by a level 10 chance to poison, and it gives you a lot of damage with poison if you have 300 dex, which I don't because the rest of my gear is scuffed. Rings, just a random breach ring with a shitload of res. Amulet, I need attributes. The Anoint is Skittering Runes for the area of effect of hex skills. The helmet is just life and res. Belt, life and res and stats. Boots, movement speed, res. Pretty self-explanatory. Gem links, and this is where it gets a little controversial. So, I have a Purity of Elements, mainly because immune to elemental ailments is just amazing. Running a Grace with Herald of Agony for the extra poison chance, and Grace because we're evasion based. I'm running Shield Charge faster attacks with a Flame Dash. I'm running Malevolence on a Divine Blessing and Inspiration. So this isn't actually up all the time. You just tap this essentially when you go into a boss or you're fighting a hard rare, you tap your Malevolence and you get about 13 seconds worth of just more damage, more duration for all of your curses. Main gem links is, and this is where it gets really controversial. Some people run Temp Chains as their main cast. I'm running Enfeeble. I have that linked to Impending Doom and Spell Cascade, and then I also have Void Manipulation, Cruelty, and Unbound Ailments. Even though it doesn't say that it's linked to this, those three actually affect when it's on an enemy and on the ground. So when it's on an enemy, they take more chaos damage, you deal more damage to them, and then Unbound Ailments give you more elemental ailment damage. Your Vixen's Entrapment, this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, is inside of these, whatever curses you're running, there's a specific order for these. So your top left gem is not actually really going to do anything. So I have Punishment and then Despair and Temp Chains. If you're main hand casting Temp Chains, then you're going to put your Enfeeble down here. But you need to have a curse that you don't really care about first. And the reason for this is there's an order in which things happen in the game. So when we curse with Enfeeble, we're triggering Punishment, Despair, and Temp Chains, which that would be 4 curses. But we technically only have a 3 curse limit. So when we hit a monster with Enfeeble, it then casts Punishment on the monster, Despair on the monster, and then Temp Chains. And when Temp Chains hits, it pulls off your last curse, which for us, for some reason, because these are in Vixens, it doesn't pull off our Enfeeble, it pulls off Punishment. So even if you don't kill the monster in that first hit, the monster still has Despair, Temp Chains, and Enfeeble on it. So the next time you cast, your Punishment's going to go on, and it's going to pull off, again, your Punishment. So this is never actually going to be on the enemy. This is just kind of what triggers your Impending Doom. And I think that's something that not a lot of people actually think about or talk about in their build guides, is how the order in which your gems are in Vixen's Entrapment matters. And then I have all 3 of those linked to a Spell Cascade support, which is what gives you this really nice overlapping screen-wide AoE. It also looks really cool, and we can kind of infinitely cast. As far as Pantheons go, it doesn't matter to me. Honestly, I would probably go with Lunaris, just so you get the projectiles that have changed. And then for Gruthel, or for your Miner, I would take Tukohama for the regen 2 life while stationary, because of how much we cast. Every time we cast, we're technically stationary, so we get that 2% life regen. We do only have, I think in the final version of this, I have about 3,500 life, but, which may not seem like a lot, but you got to think, we're elemental ailment immune. We have close to evade cap when it's all said and done, and we are spell suppress cap when it's all said and done. I'm getting there. Obviously, I'm only level 87. The final guide's like 94 or 95, so you don't have a lot of life, but you do have a lot of defenses in this character. So, let's run a map, and I'll kind of show you guys how the build plays. Let's grab a tier 10 Underground Sea, because I don't have a lot of maps. 2 things you cannot run is you cannot run Fizz Reflect or Elemental Reflect. And the reason is we don't do a lot of Fizz or Elemental damage, but we do just enough that the Reflect will kill us. Alright, so you get into a map. And it's a very, very simple playstyle. You're going to walk around, you're going to tap right click, and everything on your screen is going to explode. And you may hit a rare every now and then, which doesn't die. And if that's the case, you just stand there and you hold right click. It's really simple mapping and really nice. Like you can see, this rare isn't dying, but as soon as I stack up some poison on him, he will die. This build's very, very good for things like Blight, for Legion, obviously, because you're kind of exploding the whole screen. Anything which gives you a ton of density is going to be better. The more density, the better, because of Profane Bloom and our AoE explosions. the more things that is near the thing that we're hitting, the more stuff's going to die. And as you can see, you can just one-tap boxes pretty consistently. Looks like we have an essence up here, so we'll be able to see a little bit of single target action. So we hit our essence, we hit our malevolence, and then we just kind of stand here and cast and run away if need be. I don't actually have corrupting blood immunity on a jewel. I'm just kind of using it on a flask right now. Ooh, veiled chaos. And you shield charge around. Like it's a very, very self-explanatory build. I will say leveling this build is kind of annoying until you get to at least... I personally wouldn't swap into at least Act 6, Act 7. That way you can put on your Vixens, you have a decent curse limit, you've got most of your poison nodes on the skill tree. Because until then, it's not going to feel good. I personally swapped around Act 4, and it felt really bad. It was really sluggish. So, and you can see we kind of just one-tap Mervell there due to everything that was around her. But even if there's nothing around her, once we get our poison stacks up, she'll die. So and that's another thing with this build, is there is some damage ramp if you're playing the poison variant, because you have to let your poison stack up, right? We have enough duration where we can hit poison cap on the enemy, but it's not instant poison cap. So looks like that should be just about everything in the map. Now, obviously, I haven't done pinnacle bosses or anything like that with this build yet, but I have seen other people who are playing generally the same roundabout build that have done it, so there's no doubt in my mind that this build will carry you to full endgame pinnacle bosses, Shaper, Elder. And the best part is this build's probably going to cost you about... I would say I have about a divine and a half in this build with a 6-link Dendrobate. Everything in this build is super cheap. I mean, you can buy Vixens are like 30C right now for a very good roll. Dendrobate 6-linked is a divine. Ice Fang Orbit's a chaos. Leper's Arms chaos. Apex is a chaos. Like, this build's super cheap to get going, so... And honestly, the sky's the limit on how high you want to push this. If you want a mirror tier crit version, you can go for it. If you just want to stack poison, you can go for that as well. So, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know how bad I am at this build and making build guides. And I will see you in the next video.